right, it is 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and we're going to get started here. Welcome, everybody. It's really great to see all your faces. Um, if you are just joining us, if you don't want your face to be seen, bottom left of your screen, you should be able to stop video and not allow people to see you, but you'll still be able to see me. I have you all muted, and just because with so many people, it would be crazy if we all tried to talk. But it's great to see all of you. So my name is Matt Emhoff, and I am a spiritual and life coach, as well as the director of uh, Deeper Ministry. So I'm excited to talk to you more about how to manage our emotion in a crisis. But before we get into the content, what I'd like to do is actually do a quick breathing exercise. So for me, I'm just going to be honest in the spirit of things. I am feeling excited to be here with you guys. I'm also feeling a little nervous. So here I am, and you're also welcome here with all of whatever you're feeling and whatever you're experiencing. So thanks for being here. So we're going to do a quick breathing exercise. And by the way, it doesn't do you much good if you just watch me do the breathing exercise. So I invite you guys to do it as well. So it's really simple. All we're going to do is take some deep breaths in, deep breath out. We'll do it again. Deep breath in, deep breath out. This time when we breathe in, I just want you to imagine yourself breathing in everything good, love and joy and hope and purpose and healing and anything that you can think of that you might need, or any goodness that you can think of. Just breathe it in now. Ready? Breathe in, breathe out. And now when we breathe out, we're going to breathe out all the negativity, anything negative, frustrating, confusing, any emotions that you've been stuck in or trying to figure out, or that kind of thing. We're going to breathe those out. So breathe in the good, and breathe out the negative. You just kind of see yourself breathing in the good, breathe out negative. Okay. And that's just a super simple little tool that you can use at any time. I mean, we all breathe all the time, so it's good to just kind of reset our minds. And it's really a way to communicate to our bodies that we're okay. If we kind of stay in this hyper-vigilant mode, our breathing gets really fast, our heartbeat, our heart rate goes up, and our body thinks, oh man, we gotta run away or attack something or do something. And that's okay sometimes. So we can teach our body at moments to just calm down, settle down, relax, you're okay. And so that's really helpful as we learn to manage emotions. Even just something as simple as slowing down your breathing, envisioning yourself breathing in what's good and breathing out the negative. So as I said, I am the director of Deeper Ministry, and what we do is train you in the art of living free. And obviously, in the last 3 or 4 weeks, what it looks like to live free has changed significantly for us. What it looks like to kind of just our everyday lives look a lot differently, right? And so what we want to do is kind of learn how to navigate that and what that looks like, because we're all experiencing this crisis, and I think it's fairly unprecedented that everyone in the world is experiencing something very similar, and yet it affects us all in very different ways, and we're all reacting in different emotional ways as well. So we're all in this together, and to get out of this, we're going to have to do it all together as well and work together, even though we're isolated to our homes and our situations. So before I dive in too much further, if you do have questions, throw those in the chat box there at the bottom of your screen. There's a thing that said chat, and then you can write in questions, and I will try to respond to those either at the end of this time or at a future webinar similar to this. But I want to get those questions, if you have any, about emotional health and how to manage emotions in this time. So the other thing I want to do is just honor those who are on the front lines of this thing. I just want to honor the medical professionals, doctors, nurses, what have you, that are out there risking their lives or their health to keep people safe, to keep other people healthy, or grocery store clerks, or anyone who has a job that's deemed essential right now. Just honor you. Thank you for what you're doing. I also want to honor those who have lost your job or in a financial struggle right now. Things are happening every day. We don't know what the future holds, but I'm just so sorry. My heart breaks for you. We're with you. We're in this together. And as well, I want to honor those who are being affected medically, and even those who have lost someone to the coronavirus or in this time. We're so sorry. My heart breaks for you. My heart is with you. Our prayers are with you. So I'm going to talk about emotional health and how to manage our emotions in this time. But we just want to make sure we understand we're all in different situations and this is affecting us differently. So we just want to honor everyone and their different situations and how that all looks, right? So one of the things I've noticed about myself in this time, as I've taken a little bit of time to just kind of look inside what's going on with me, is I realized that I've been addicted to normalcy, which sounds kind of funny. But a lot of my identity, my value, my okayness, and how I monitor, am I okay today, is based on how normal my day is, or how predictable it is, or if things are going my way, or if my expectations are being met. And of course, that's fairly common, and in a normal time, we just kind of go along in our day like that. But the board game of our life has been flipped upside down, and we're kind of looking for all the pieces and saying, what the heck do we do now? And so it's actually a really good time, a really good opportunity to look into your own heart, your own internal world, because a lot of the normal distractions, a lot of the normal busyness, the normal things that we kind of just can reach for or go do are not there. And so it's definitely uncomfortable. Welcome to the discomfort. We're all in it, whatever that looks like for each one of us. But as we're here, don't waste the discomfort by trying to ignore it all the more, because this is a really good time to look at, wow, I really am stuck here or addicted to normalcy, or whatever that is to you. And even just the other day, our son Nolan, he's 7 years old. It was his 7th birthday about a week and a half ago. And so it broke our hearts to have to cancel his birthday party, seventh birthday party, right? And we had a birthday planned at the trampoline park, which was going to be awesome. His friends and grandparents and everybody else, and of course we had to cancel that. Now Sherry, my wife, and I probably went a little overboard. We just bought a trampoline on Amazon. We brought the trampoline park to him, and probably wasn't the best financial decision, but it was a really good decision, because we've got a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old that are just at home trying to get energy out. But anyways, my son Nolan, he had to let go of, he had to release this. Oh man, I had a birthday planned, and I'm telling you, he probably does that better than I do, because he's just like, he goes with the flow, and he's like, hey, well, at least I get a trampoline, at least I get to do this, at least I get to do that. That's the thing. But we're all experiencing things, expectations that are not being met, things that we had planned that we had to cancel, things that we're now, in a sense, losing, that we're trying to deal with, we're trying to manage. What does that look like, to have less than we had before? And so it's important to understand that is actually painful to us. And sometimes we don't think about those things as pain. But what all emotion is trying to do is honor our pain, or at least honor reality, right? And so you imagine a little child who's hurt. They skin their knee, they hurt themselves, and they're crying, and they're trying to get the attention of their parents or guardians to say, hey, I'm hurting, I need help. And much more than they need a Band-Aid, right? They need the attention, the love, the care, that, you're okay, that kind of thing. But if that parent or guardian ignores the child, they're going to yell all the more. They're going to get frustrated. They're going to get confused. They're going to get scared all the more. And so just think of our emotions like that little child. We each have a little child inside of us when we're hurt, yelling at the adult in us, going, hey, hey, I'm hurting. I'm confused. I'm lost. Help me. But then as adults, we oftentimes ignore that, or are too busy, or just don't want to deal with pain because pain's uncomfortable. And then it comes out in these different ways that are harder to deal with, or confusing, or just reactive or triggering. So what we want to do is allow ourselves to honor pain. And so we can all just take another deep breath here and just go, I'm in pain in some way. And so we want to broaden our definition of pain, because often we do this comparison thing. Well, it's really not that bad, and other people have it worse. But the problem is a little child doesn't look at it that way. They're very just, this is what's real to me. And we need to honor that pain. And so we broaden our definition of pain by allowing smaller things to be in that definition as well. A silly example for me is the other day I had an expectation. I had seen leftover pizza in the fridge, and then my wife came and ate one of those pieces of pizza, and I was pissed. I was upset. I was angry just for a second, or maybe 3 seconds, but then I got over it and it was okay. But that was a little bit of pain, or as Richard Rohr calls it, a little death. I had to let go of something that I had wanted or had expected or think should happen, right? We go through all kinds of those all day. And there's a little child in us going, ow, that hurts. And we can go through a lot of those very quickly and easily because they're small. But we still need to be honoring the pain, large and small. Years ago, I remember John Eldridge saying, every day we need to grieve, and every day we need to look for beauty. And the beauty part I was all about. That sounds great. But the grieving part, I was like, what are you talking about? No way. I don't want to grieve every day. I try to avoid grief because it feels uncomfortable. But it's because our expectations are not met, those types of things that we just described. And then there's all the way to the other end of the spectrum, the things that are devastating, the death, loss, betrayal, other things like that are absolutely painful, obviously, and everything in between. For example, there is a pain, an emotional pain that's happening to us right now because there's a part of us, it's not very logical, but it just is a part of us that's saying, I shouldn't have to be going through a pandemic right now. I shouldn't have to be at home, stuck at home. I shouldn't have to be worried about my health this way, because that's not what I think should be happening right now. And that expectation is obviously not being met because that's where we are. And the emotion is trying to honor that pain and say, I hear you. So we want to honor the pain by speaking to the little child inside and saying, just like we would to a little child that's hurting, I'm so sorry. It hurts. It's confusing. We're lost, but we're not alone. And I got this. And we're going to get through this together, just like an adult would speak to a child. That's going to be really helpful to just pause every once in a while and be kind to the young places in your heart. And for some of us, we're already saying, Matt, what are you talking about? That sounds frou-frou. That sounds woo-woo. That sounds weird. I'm telling you, this is the way emotion works, whether you like it or not. There's that young place inside happening. And so one of the myths that we want to bust, be like Mythbusters right now, is that we have been taught either by words or experience or whatever, by our culture, that if we just push down emotion, it'll go away. If we put our heads down and bust through this, the emotion will go away. And for most of us, we know that's probably not true instinctively, because we can ask, how's that going for you? In a lot of cases, it's not going well because it's not going away, even if we ignore it or try to get busy or try to do other things. Now, sometimes it's okay. We got to put our emotion, shelve our emotion for a minute to get through something painful so that we can navigate and be strategic and problem solve and all that. But there's got to be moments where we take it off the shelf and say, hey, what was going on? What is happening? Kindness, all that kind of stuff, right? Um, and so the myth that we're busting is that emotion just goes away by pushing it down or hiding it. No, it stays there. It stays there. And in fact, most of us have pushed down enough emotion that it's starting to get backed up. There's a great story that I like to use an analogy when talking about this, and that's in the early 1900s. They first started putting plumbing and water heaters into houses. Only the most expensive rich people could have them, but they were really excited because before they had to heat up water in a big vat on the fire and bring it in or whatever they had to do. But now it gets piped right into their bathtub. Awesome. Right into their sink. Awesome. But there was a problem. See, they built these containers out of metal, and they would have a fire underneath it that would just be going all the time. And so all this heat, all this pressure, all this steam would build up until the walls of this water heater would actually explode. It would blast through walls and hurt people, and obviously a big problem. And so what they had to do is they came up with this solution, and they put what they call a T&P valve, or a temperature and pressure valve release, on the water heater. And water heaters today still have them. And so what it is just this little thing on the side of the water heater, pipe coming down from it. And you can do it manually, although I don't suggest doing that, and let out a little water, let out a little steam, but it also does it on its own when the pressure gets too much. So you can see the analogy that I'm getting at is that we need a temperature and pressure relief valve instead of just putting more pressure, just putting more intensity. So every time we stuff emotion down further, instead of allowing it to have its voice, allowing it to say what it wants to say to us, we put more pressure on our body, and we feel it, right? The intensity, our breathing, our heartbeat, all kinds of things that our body's going, oh my gosh, what's going on? I have to respond to this. I have to figure it out. And it just gets exhausting, and it gets worse. And so the temperature and pressure valve for us is a lot of different things that we can do. And that's what we're talking about. But first, we have to realize that it is a myth that if we just put our head down and ignore emotion, that it's going to go away. False. It's just going to dig its heels in more and yell all the louder, right? And again, what it's trying to do is point out, hey, you're in pain. We're in pain. We need to do something about this, right? And so as we go along, what we're doing is cultivating awareness in our lives and in our everyday. Okay. So one way we can do that is through vulnerability. And if you haven't read anything or listened to anything by Brene Brown, you should definitely do that, especially in this time. It's really helpful. She is a shame and vulnerability researcher and author and speaker. Really good stuff. And so her encouragement, my encouragement, is to learn how to be vulnerable. Now, we often think that vulnerability is weakness, or we're going to get taken advantage there and that kind of thing. But again, the vulnerability says, hey, I'm in pain. This is what's going on. I'm hurting. I'm scared. Honoring the reality, honoring pain, which is super helpful for our own emotion and allowing other people to do it as well. And in one of her books, Brene Brown talks about what she calls the SHITTY first draft. And I don't know my audience. I do know my mom and mother-in-law are on this, so I'm not going to say the word. But we'll call it the stormy first draft. But the idea is the stormy first draft is kind of all the things that we're feeling unedited, right? Because when we're scared, when we're hurting, when we're in this defensive mode, we exaggerate, we attack, we swear, we yell, we do all kinds of things that is just reactive. There's not a lot of space to be responsive, because boom, I'm feeling this and here it is, right? And so it's going to be really helpful for you to find a place where you can let your stormy first draft out to somebody who's in a grounded situation where they can hear you and honor you and that kind of thing, without trying to fix it, without trying to figure it out, but just getting that out. That's a great way to express healthy emotion, right? And you got to be careful who you're doing that with, because some people are not grounded. And for some of us, if we have a spouse or kids, they're not the person to go to right away. Maybe they are, maybe they're grounded enough. But for many of us, because we're in such a similar situation, our biggest fears or our reactivity is going to trigger theirs. And so then instead of empathy and connection, and I'm so sorry that that's really painful, it's a negative reaction, that because their fear is being triggered, and then it gets worse, right? So finding somebody to do that with is going to be really important. I am a spiritual and life coach, like I said at the beginning, and I'm doing that a lot with my clients, and that's okay. And I work really hard to be grounded, and I work really hard to have my own people that I can vent to and have my stormy first draft with, right? So find another helping professional, find a friend, or somebody who is grounded to be able to say all the things, your worst fears, the things that are really intense for you right now, just to let all those out to somebody. And even if that's not logical, that's not my true heart, that's not what I really feel. There's something inside of you. There's a little kid going, "What if that's true? What if that's true?" So you need to let it out and release that, and that will be a part of that pressure release valve for us. Okay. So just being vulnerable and allowing space for us to feel what we're feeling is another part of that vulnerability. Is just don't try to stop yourself from feeling. That's a non-starter. Like we said at the beginning, you're gonna feel what you feel. What we get a choice on is how we react and how we express that emotion, right? But give yourself permission to feel some fear, some confusion, feel some anger, some resentment, feel some sadness, and even some despair and all that kind of stuff. We don't stay stuck there, but we say, okay, that's where I'm at, right? That's the vulnerability of giving yourself permission to be where you're at, and that's okay, right? Another way to cultivate the awareness in your life, and healthy emotions, is creating routines and rhythms in your life. Like we said, the board game of your life got flipped upside down, and along with that is our kind of our markers in our life to tell us what to do next. And we have choice, obviously, but there are built-in routines and rhythms that show us the way, right? The commute to work, got to get up and get to work, or if you have kids, right, get them on the bus, or all kinds of different things. And so even if we're working from home, even if we're still going in to an essential job, whatever that looks like, our rhythms and routines have changed a lot. So what we're going to want to do is kind of find a little bit of a new normal, and take some action to say, what is my routine today? My wife is doing a great job with our kids, to get them up and get them dressed. Just that simple, because it'd be really easy to say, well, we'll just stay in our PJs all day and kind of make it through. And there's some days where that happens, but it's helpful for all of us to say, what's my motivating factors? What do I want to do today? What are some goals that I want to set? And they can be small, they can be easy. And I know not everyone is as process oriented, but the thing is that we feel safer when we have some predictability in our life. We feel more energized when we have some goals and some purpose in our life, right? And we get pretty relaxed because a boss, or our other routine, whatever it is telling us this is what we got to do today. So we got to take some initiative and say, what's my goal today? What's my motivation today? It could be a few things. You could have it more planned out, but you're going to want to have some things that are fairly routine in your life, and that'll be really helpful. All right. And just as a reminder, if you have any questions as we go along, hit that chat button and type something in, and I'll try to get to that either today or next time. So then we want to cultivate empathy as another level of awareness in our life, right? One thing I've noticed, and I have a real privilege in having coaching clients all over the country, and I've talked to a lot of them now, and we're all reacting differently. But what I've noticed in myself and others is that we're starting to kind of get this tunnel vision, because we're kind of stuck at our homes, or we're kind of stuck in our situation, and we're not out and about seeing other people and being reminded of that. And so we don't want to get stuck in empathy where all we're doing is feeling everyone else's pain, because that's overwhelming. But we do want to take some time to remember that other people are going through this same thing, but they may be going through it differently, right? And so, like I did at the beginning, we want to honor other people's situations and other people's pains as well as we do our own. And so, empathy is just saying, um, standing in somebody else's shoes and somebody else's situation and saying, I wonder what that feels like. I wonder what that looks like for them, right? And you might be surprised that your emotion to that, to say, wow, I want to reach out to them, I want to help in some way, even if it's just sending a text or a quick call or a prayer or whatever for them. Is you'll start to feel what they feel. The other thing that I've noticed, and you may have noticed this as well, because a lot of us are on social media, is that in Facebook, about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, now I'm not on Facebook a lot, but I'm on it enough to see that fear is starting to turn to anger. There's a lot more opinions starting to come out on Facebook. A lot of people are writing their stormy first draft on Facebook, and the blaming is starting. And when we're angry, we want to find someone or something to blame. And it's that person, that type of person, the people that are not taking this seriously enough, the people that are taking it too seriously, the people that don't care about the financial part, the people that care about the financial part too much, the government, whoever it is. We start flinging our anger, flinging our emotions at the people we want to blame. We're in pain, remember, but we project the pain because it feels a lot better than owning our part in our own pain and honoring the pain in ourselves, right? So we can disagree. And if there's people in your life that you have a good influence on and that you want to talk to say, hey, look, I think you want to do this, or here's some suggestions, that's great. Set some healthy boundaries in your life and help other people. But to just start flinging stuff on Facebook or whatever is just super unhelpful. And it actually makes people dig in their heels even more on their position, and that kind of thing. So as anger or fear has turned to anger, what we want to do is practice that empathy, even if we disagree, to say, hey, let's pause. Let's think about this. What does it look like for that person? What does it feel like for that person? Because guess what? They're in pain too, and they're doing the best that they can, just like you're doing the best that you can, right? And so, those are just some helpful examples of awareness. And the gift of awareness is really when we don't have awareness, we react, and it feels like we don't have a choice because we don't even know that there's another option, right? And so the gift of awareness is that, if we pause, if we get curious, I wonder what this is about. We do a few deep breaths to reset our brain, to reset our body, to tell us that we're okay. Then we can actually tap into our critical thinking brain and say, oh, I have options here. Who do I want to be in this situation? How do I want to respond in this situation, right? And the emotion is there, so we're going to be pulled in different ways. We're going to feel different things, but we do have choices, and the awareness helps us. So we want to cultivate that awareness. And a few of the things that we're really fighting against, or really kind of coming against us the most, I've noticed, are these three, which is scarcity, the scarcity mindset, isolation, and diminishment, right? And so we want to, again, band together, work together, have that empathy, do the things that we just talked about, to not allow ourselves to get pulled into that space or getting taken out by scarcity, isolation, or diminishment, right? I was just at the grocery store the other day, and got to the toilet paper aisle. You never know these days. There was still some left, and it said you can only take 2 packs, and no more than that. But there was this pull in me to be like, man, I wonder if I grabbed one more, if anyone would notice. Like, are they really enforcing that? What is that? And I'm like, wow, I don't need more toilet paper right now. I'm getting 2 packs and I have more at home. What is this pull, this intensity to start feeling this scarcity, not enough, and I'm not going to be okay. My family's not going to be okay. Oh crap, I got to do more and more and more. We get into this reactive triggered space of I've got to look out just for me. And look, we are in a place where we have less resources. We have less options, and that's uncomfortable to us, right? And especially in our Western affluent culture, we would much rather have all the options and reach for whatever we need in the pantry or at the grocery store whenever we want, and then we feel a lot better. But without that, it kind of pulls the veil back a little bit and shows what's underneath, which again is a real opportunity to see that. And so we have a scarcity mindset often when things are at their best. And so this is going to be something we want to keep our eye on. And one of the ways we can fight scarcity is really learn to sacrifice well. It doesn't mean we got to give up everything for everyone else, but when we do need to, we can think in that category to say, hey, how am I sacrificing? How am I letting go of some things and learning to do that well instead of just trying to avoid it or fight it, right? And again, practicing that empathy is really helpful. Isolation, again, by definition, we are all isolated by this, but we don't want to give in to the isolation, that tunnel vision, especially for those introverts out there. I am an introvert, so I get it. We can finally be the introverts we always knew we could be. And it's like, hey, you're telling me not to be at big events or be around people or stay away from people and only be out in nature on trails. That's what I've been trying to do my whole life. And so obviously the need for connection will impact us at different levels, but it's a very human need that we have for connection. And so don't tunnel into your space and just stay there emotionally. Reach out, invite others to reach out, connect with other people. Don't give into an isolation mindset where it's just, oh, I guess I'm by myself and nothing else matters. And that's a downward spiral. Okay. And then finally, diminishment. And again, this goes to the anger, the blaming. We start diminishing other people when we feel threatened or cornered or just in survival mode. We start to diminish other people. We start to diminish their thoughts or their feelings or what's going on with them. And so we don't want to do that. That's not who we are. And again, awareness, that who do I want to be in this moment? How do I want to respond? What does that look like, right? Diminishing is just negative. And so what we want to do is give dignity and honor and love well as we go, right? The other thing that I've noticed is that diminishment shifts back to pointing at ourselves. We start diminishing ourselves in this time. Well, I guess I can't do anything, or my pain's not really that bad because other people have it worse, or that kind of thing. Again, unhelpful. We want to honor those emotions. In fact, what I really want to encourage you to do is start thinking about what can you offer to people that can help them emotionally, right? Because I think that's sometimes the last thing we think about because we want to meet physical needs, which is really helpful. So think about that too. But don't diminish how much people need to hear your voice. We have amazing technology these days. So get on the phone and talk to somebody or see your face, right? We have Zoom meetings like this. We have FaceTime. We have other things that we can reach out to people. And I started doing this a little bit, even though I'm an introvert, with some clients or previous clients or friends or that kind of thing. And I was astonished at the response of those who reached out back that said, yes, I want to connect with you, that they were so happy to see me or hear my voice. And I was kind of surprised, like, oh, okay, it's good to see you, whatever. But I was also even more surprised what it did for my heart. It warms my heart. It feels like connection. It's obviously second best. It's not the same as getting a hug or being face to face or that kind of thing. But it's a huge deal. And there is a lot of lonely people out there right now. So please don't hesitate to reach out. In fact, what I've been sensing is, especially as I've been talking to clients and other people, is that what's happening is that there is an army of good that is mobilizing right now. At the worst of times, we can either react the worst or the best, right? And I want to be a part of that army of good, that tidal wave of good that is happening. And it's really good for our hearts and our emotion to have some good input along with a lot of the other things that are going on. There are other things that are healthy, that are good. Um, there are people that are putting Christmas lights out on their house to spread cheer. Maybe you've seen the videos of when people walk out of the hospitals at the end of their shift in the cities. There are people out on their balcony or blinking their lights or whatever, cheering for them. Um, we missed it for Nolan's birthday, unfortunately, but there's a firehouse near here that if you let them know that it's your child's birthday at this time, they'll drive a fire truck to your driveway, honk the horn, turn on the sirens, turn on the lights, just to bring joy to those children. I mean, I could go on and on. If you're looking for these things, they're out there. And so it fills our hearts with good, knowing that there are other people out there doing good. And it's also inspiring to us to say, what can we do? And those are simple things to just bring some joy, just a little bit of hope, just a little bit of goodness, right, to other people. And so as we do this, and it's something I wanted to say earlier, is in our routines and rhythms that we put in our lives, when we're looking for that good, we also want to just limit how much news, how much Facebook, how much negative or scary or intense data that's coming in, right? And I'm like all of you, I can get lost in the scrolling. I can get in that black hole of Facebook. I can, you have your news feeds, hooked up to your phone, all that kind of stuff, and our body, our emotion. It's just not healthy to have that 24/7. So again, one of those rhythms is just take a break, pause, rest, focus on a good thing, go on a walk if you can, get some fresh air if you can, read a book, whatever you got to do to bring some goodness into your life, right? And so what we can do to bring goodness to other people is lean into two main things, which is courage and purpose, right? And courage is doing the right thing or the next loving thing, even when we're not sure it's going to go well, even when we're exhausted or not sure we have the energy to, even when it's scary, to do it anyways, right? And so we want to be people of courage in this time, to tap into that thing that's already in you. It's already in you that you have to offer, which is your courage. I can offer who I am and what I have, right? And so, I mean, honestly, scroll through your phone and see if anyone jumps out at you and you're nudged to reach out to them. You might be surprised, right? You could probably think of someone right now off the top of your head that is a friend or an acquaintance or whatever that it might be good to just reach out to, give a text to, a Facebook, connection or whatever it is, right? To do that. So be a part of the solution, be a part of this tidal wave of good, this army of good that's happening by reaching into your courage. And then also your purpose, right? Our purpose is a lot bigger than just what's happening in our everyday life right now. We are part of a bigger group of people that is moving forward and helping people. So your purpose is to bring goodness to people right now, to yourself, to your spouse, if you have a spouse, to your kids, if you have kids. And you can be really intentional about that. In the days to come, put your hand on your heart once in a while and just say, what's needed right now? What's needed for me? What's needed for my family? What's needed for friends or coworkers? That kind of thing. And just see what happens inside. We've got so much going on inside that we often miss, right? So just allow yourself to feel it. And you might tap into a part of you that says, hey, you might be nudged to say, hey, I need a little space right now. I need to go for a walk in nature right now or in my neighborhood right now. Just get some fresh air because I'm feeling overwhelmed. Okay, and go do it. That's going to be really helpful, right? And that's a part of bringing good to yourself. You may need to spend a little extra time with one of your kids, noticing that they're struggling a little bit more with this time, right? So sit down with them, play with them, talk with them, ask them how they're feeling, and really listen. Don't try to fix it or figure it out. Just be in it with them, and practice that empathy and connect with them, right? Or with your spouse. Notice your spouse is having a rough day, and maybe it's the last thing you want to do to drop what you're doing or risk what you're feeling to connect with them. But maybe they just need a hug if you're in the same space, or maybe they just need a listening ear or that kind of thing. Same again with other people outside of your space. Reach out with technology and connect. And that is a purposeful way to live beyond just getting through. By just surviving, we also want to thrive in this time, which goes beyond just barely surviving, right? Just barely getting through, which we also have to do. All right, so what we're going to do is kind of start wrapping up here. That's a lot of good stuff, and want you to kind of think about that and really put some of this into practice. I invite you to try it out. Dip your toe in the water and see what it's like for you, to tap into some of these really good practices. I am going to be doing more webinars like these. The next one is on this Friday, April 3rd at 3 p.m. It's going to be on the healthy emotional flow, right? And so it actually gets a lot more into detail. This is what it looks like. If you can see that, it's pain and how it goes through fear, anger, sadness, and then eventually joy. Okay, and what each of these emotions are trying to tell us, how to interact with them, how they interact with each other, and how to do that in healthy ways, right? And so because you've already registered for this, you don't have to register again for that. You will get an invitation. Obviously, you don't have to attend. But just like this one, there will be a recording of it, so you can watch it later if you can't attend on Friday, April 3rd at 3 p.m. Again, that's the healthy emotional flow on that. And then I will get to some of those questions that were asked here then, and that kind of thing. So the recording of this will be available to you. I will send it through the email that you registered with. And then also please share it with others who you think could benefit from it. I also just want to let you know that you can go to deeperministry.com to get in contact with me. If you have a specific question or want to talk more, find out more about what I do in coaching. And also we have a weekly reading subscription where you can sign up for that to get the posts that I write and that kind of thing as well. So anyways, thanks so much for tuning in today. I am hoping and praying, and my heart goes out to each one of you, that we're all in this together, and that we're taking the time we need to be kind to ourselves, honor the pain that is there, not try to stuff it down or hide it. Use the awareness that we have, that we can cultivate, to continue to make good choices and know who we want to be in this time. Fight against scarcity, isolation, and diminishment, as well as being a part of the tidal wave of good that is happening. All right, so thank you so much. I'm going to stay on and just read any comments and that kind of thing, but you can go ahead and sign off. We are done. Thank you so much.